The cavalry had arrived, once more signalled by Orius's clicking tongue. I was flanked by Aries and Zafan on both sides. Belfar and Sayer is still at work. I trust that you two can manage this. Faster than you. Zafan started dealing blows in tandem with me, and I very much welcomed the additional strength. How are you so strong?
Decades of practice. You'll be able to lift me one day.
Lift your damn weapon first. You're right, sorry for doing nothing this entire time. I couldn't even afford to glare at him. The creature had split itself one more time in a desperate bid for survival. Kame, I thought you said just one would be easy. None of the ones I've encountered had the ability to reproduce like this. I welcome the challenge. Well, I don't.
And one day you will. Sorry, Aina. I'll back you up in just a bit. Tricky little bastard, aren't you?
Okay, so what a lot of Japanese otome games do, which I'm sure you know, but if there's a name that someone inputs and it's not the default name, they will omit the name but still have it in there. They'll be like, sorry, I'll back you up just in a bit. And it goes much better because I'm like, who is Aina? Or whatever, right? If you're gonna have your voice actors put in a name, your character should have a default name. I don't like characters having a default name that much. I like being able to rename them to whatever. But if you're going to, like, that feels a bit short-sighted in my opinion. It's not something I can't ignore, but it takes me, like, out of it and I'm like, yo, I'm not, who's Aina? As our attentions and targets split, I was left to face the last remnant of the malevolent on my own. This time I had bore the entire weight of a blow, but instead of being pushed back, I was stuck in place. The whip-like substance had started to draw the essence from my weapon, and in turn, me. Oh no, you don't. I strengthened myself to harden against the creature. While it did not sever our bond, I felt something different. Why do I feel stronger? I wonder. Instead of repelling, this time I was trying to draw the power in for myself, and I felt vitalized. I faintly heard the sounds of the other three shadows dissipate, but mine was still there, only barely. As I saw more and more of its power, the malevolence started to fade. Valkii, step back. Let go. I have a handle on this. I got it. Let go. He ricocheted towards me and sliced down his blade on the connection between the creature and me. Zafan, Aureus, what the hell? Why didn't you stop her? Sorry, he muttered earnestly, sheepish, and Zafan was staring down at his feet. I thought you'd be better at this. You'd be better than this at least, Aureus. Aureus remained quiet. What's the big deal? It was unsettling how quickly Kame went from being menacing to displaying concern for me. Valkii, how are you feeling? He tightly gripped my shoulders, and the panic racing in his eyes was unsettling. Normally, Kame was like a beacon of calm. Today, though, he was shaken, and I regretted being the reason for it. I shouldn't have taken my eyes off her. See that you do not next time. I can take care of myself. While I did appreciate their concern, I felt a small rush of irritation rise inside of me. Plus, I didn't like seeing Aureus being scolded on my behalf. Valkii, there's a lot of things you still don't know. I know, but... and a lot of things that even we do not know yet. What were you doing in the end? There was a tether between you two, but you seemed rather sure of yourself. I was absorbing its power. They gaped at me like I had started speaking another language. I was, or at least, I think I was. Are you sure? Not that I'm doubting you, but... I felt stronger. I was trying to siphon its power to me, and... Why would you do that? Aureus. I felt it trying to steal my energy first, so I was compelled to do the opposite. It sounded somewhat pathetic and more than a little petty as I said the words aloud. These are beings that are composed of harmful energy, Valkii. We do not know what effects they may have on you. Oh no, am I going to turn evil? I looked down at my palms as if they were turning blue right at that moment. You seem like the same old airhead to me. And you're still the same jerk, I see.
Aina, do not ever do such a thing again.
How did this happen? Kame's stern warning and Zafan's confusion was a keen reminder of the actual situation we had at hand. The banter of the battle lulled me into the false impression that all was well between us, but it was time to face the music. I have a feeling my brother has a hand in what happened. My cat. Your cat? Wait, you texted us that Kame's brother showed up, so what's your cat got to do with this? The fact that I had been keeping a secret was about to come to light, and that I had lost my cat. Okay, I know I harped on about how, like, you know, She shouldn't be keeping a secret because she's still naive. She's like... She probably could still get scammed. If the conditions were correct. So she should be telling people. But also, on the same... Like, flipping it around a bit. It's like, can she not have friends of her own? Do you guys need to know everyone who she's friends with? What is happening? Aries and Zafan looked to both Kame and I for answers, but I was afraid to speak. I grew envious of the spirit that just disappeared. I, too, wish to dissipate into thin air right now. We can talk about this when we're not in the middle of the street. Zafan slung an arm around me. Whether it was the gesture of consolation or comfort, I couldn't tell. With uncomfortable silence, we returned home together. While I had expected the interrogation to start immediately, Kame had decided we were to wait for Sayer and Valkii. I'm not on the game. Sorry. The anticipation only exacerbated the pit of anxiety in my stomach. I wasn't deprived of my usual drink at least. My little umbrella was even included, although it kept sinking to the bottom today, much like my spirits.
This is so awkward. Just what happened?
To my right was Zafan. His usual jovial countenance had been mired with concern. Aries was slumped in the armchair, his legs dangling off the arm of the chair, and his head resting against the other. Patience, Zafan. Look, he looks like he's going to stab you. Aries smirked at Kame, who just about had steam coming from his ears. That reaction wiped the grin off even Aries' insolent face. Kame had got into making drinks early, too early. There was a line of about 10 drinks on the counter already, and there was no sign that he would be stopping soon. Mercifully, Sayer and Valkii finally walked through the doors. Forgive our absence. We had the same problem you did by the office. Noting the grim atmosphere, the men had skipped their usual greetings. Sayer took his spot to my left, and Valkii took to the bar to retrieve his and Sayer's drinks. Only then did Kame finally speak. Truly? Most concerning indeed. Has your investigation not turned up the cause?
I do dread getting involved in fighting.
Unfortunately not. I was just about to return when I received her message. You mean my photo of my cat? The photo of my brother. The photo of your brother. No matter how many times I said it, it was still hard to reconcile the fact that my cat was never a cat. How in the world could you tell that cat was your brother? I am able to see through illusions. Before I could ask if his glasses were how he could see through illusions, the others gasped, affronted at the revelation.
The cat was Malthus? No wonder he was such an asshole.
Ugh, I should have kicked him when I had the chance.
I should have thrown him out the window.
I normally do not condone animal abuse, although I suppose it was warranted in this situation.
Why is Kame's brother a cat? All eyes turned to me. My brother is able to shapeshift and cast illusions. My talent is that I can dispel them to an extent. But why is he doing this, turning into cats and running away from his own brother? What happened between you two? Why were you so afraid? I had loved my own sister dearly, and I could never imagine such strife between us. Kame looked at me and then down at the row of glasses before him. Wordlessly, he took several long sips from one before answering. We could only hear the tinkle of ice against the glass as he took his time. I knew it had to be serious for the rare silence that the others afforded him. I shall tell you later. Later, again. If you are forthright in what I'm about to ask you, I will tell you tonight. My displeasure must have been clear to him. After I shoo these cretin out of my home, that is. Why did they even need to come if you were just going to tell them to leave? These cretins were the first ones to show up as back. A glare from our bespectacled bartender silenced him. I believe we should start at the beginning with you. How did you come to meet him? Did you know that he could turn into a cat, or rather that your cat could turn into a human? No, I had no idea. If I had known he was a man, I'd have never let him do... Never mind. I had realized that I had made a mistake to even say that much aloud, with the way all the men had suddenly tensed up. Do what? Do what, Valkii? What has he done? We can come back to that in a bit. Valkii was, as he often seemed to be, my saving grace. Right. When I had left that day, after my first reaping, I came across a cat which went into an alley. Don't tell me you followed a cat into an alley. I wanted to pet him. Valkii. So? Why are you all looking at her like she's stupid? Are the cats bad in this world? Like, you didn't tell her if there's no cats, if the cats are bad, if don't trust the cat? What are you talking about? I then met a guy named Lucien Knox. Pardon? He had light hair, right? Yes. His name is Knox. That's my other brother. Those two always stay together. Kane was left out. My heart ached for him. So Knox lied to me. I gather he didn't tell you about the identity of your pet. He didn't. I could tell that he communicated with the cat, but I thought it was just a quirk he had. The two of us can understand him quite well. Now I understand how Knox, not Lucien, was taking orders from Mr. Kitty. How often did you two meet? A good handful. It's no surprise you two would become such fast friends. He did try to shoo me away all the time. You were undeterred, a surprise to no one. How did your friendship grow? Well, I just talked about... I was reluctant to finish. My problems? My life? I knew it would hurt them to know I was confiding in someone else instead. About things. Someone to vent to, huh? Just as expected, he was sulking. You'd always share what ails you with us, Valkii. I didn't want to burden you anymore. I'm sorry. And look where that's gotten us. Aries. Valkii came over and held my hand and knelt down so I would be forced to look at him.
We are here for you to lean on, but we cannot do that if you talk to strange people in alleys and don't even tell us where you're going. Heaven forbid. What if something happened to you?
I wish that he yelled at me instead of using the tone that he did. His gentle disappointment made me feel all the worse. Please don't keep secrets from us anymore. You can trust us. Look, you may say you're sad. I know we're a bunch of weirdos that told you that you're dead and forced you into employment. But we're all here for you to annoy. So, if you don't do that, then we're going to be sitting around and twiddling our thumbs.
Just look at Xanth. He already looks like he's lost his purpose. Oh wait, that's just his face.
Haha. If I don't beat your ass, try it. It isn't that I don't trust you all. He asked me not to tell anyone. What reason did he give you for it? He said he doesn't get along with other Reapers. I figured he was being bullied or something like that. Something about him made me not want to break that promise. That's part of his charm. He appears to be the innocent type. Kame sighed. I think it's time I explain a couple of things to her. Valkii patted my head once more and then stood up after releasing his hold on it. Everyone, let us head out. Just leave these 10 drinks on the bar. Who cares? And then there were two. Do I just stay here? Do I go over to the bar? Is he gonna come to me? I peeked up very slowly, only for him to already be making direct contact. Those eyes of his pierced my soul, and I regretted not escaping with the others. When he wasn't being nice to me, he was very intimidating. Let us go to the balcony together. I think some fresh air would do both of us some good. He isn't gonna push me over it, is he? She has some very paranoid thoughts. He closed the door behind us quietly, and I looked up at the beautiful night sky. I should take it in case this is the last thing I ever see. Also, you really think he's gonna push you over the edge? It wasn't just like a jokey joke to make yourself feel better. Okay. Don't be overdramatic. He could have killed you earlier if he wanted to. I scolded myself as we stood together in the night air. I started counting the laces of my boots as we stood in silence. Occasionally, I would peek up to observe the rise and fall of his chest, but I didn't dare to make eye contact just yet. A long time ago, my brothers and I were born. I shall spare you the details for now, but it is the reason— I will spare you the details until my root. The details for now, but it is the reason why I bear a last name. When he finally started speaking, I jolted. Reapers simply come to existence, or they are humans working off a soul debt. My brothers and I are the only exception. Somewhere along the way, they have become wayward. They are living as fugitives now. It is my duty to capture them and bring them to justice. I find it so funny that they are fugitives and they're like, this is my alley. They don't have like a cool base. They just go to the alley and then tell people to piss off if they go to the alley. That's so funny to me. Like, way to be low-key villains, guys. It is my duty to capture them and bring them to justice. By wayward, you mean they have harmed other Reapers, fatally even. His voice was so full of pain that I forgot my silly fear of him. I wanted to give him a hug and reassure him that all would be right, even if they would be empty words.
Do you understand now? The fear I felt when I saw that he had come into your home, when I was away, and could not protect you.
He held my cheeks in his palms, and as he inhaled, I felt that he had stolen my breath. I was unharmed, Kame, and I am forever grateful for it. His finger curled and a knuckle gently stroked down my jawline, then moved down as he cupped my chin. He tilted my face upwards so that I couldn't look away. I felt the pull of his eyes regardless of his hold on me. My emotions warred inside of me. One moment I was intimidated, and another I wanted to lend him my shoulder. I couldn't help but want to melt in such close proximity. Unfortunately, for my nerves, he was very handsome. Please do not keep secrets from me anymore, Valkii. You are a kind woman, Valkii. I want nothing more than for us to enjoy a long, fulfilling friendship.
I suspect you know that you cannot seek them out anymore. You are intelligent
He's like,
enough to
you're
not
not
repeat a
dumb,
mistake,
right?
I hope.
Like, I'm gonna make you say you're not dumb. Valkii. His stern warning still rang clearly, despite how softly he said my name. They are your brothers. They are harmful, and you are not to go near them. His eyes flashed with something stern that had me taking a step back. My back was to the railing, and he snatched my wrist to pull me back. With a soft thud, I landed right against his chest. Whoops! I know you won't disappoint me. His hand had reached up to caress my face again, in a gesture that was far too intimate to be friendly. I'll do my best. Is he, like, trying to manipulate her? The air was strange between us. I couldn't decipher what the mood was anymore, and I wasn't sure what the best thing to say was. I'd rather have been scolded. I thought, yet my heart was beating shallowly, rapidly, like the fluttering of a hummingbird's wings. Come on, Kame. Clear the air for us. Now that's been settled between us, how about a round of drinks just for the two of us? You must tell me how the others handled the cat version of my brother. So the topic of his brothers wasn't entirely taboo then. I feel like I'm treading dangerous waters. Nonetheless, I gave him a pleasant smile of my own. I'd be delighted, and, Kime? Yes? You owe me a new cat. The man was truly flabbergasted. Your priorities are amazing. Fine, I shall bestow you any cat you wish, so long as it's actually an entire cat. Can you turn into a cat? Why? Do you wish to snuggle with me? And now the idea is entirely off-putting. I shoved him away good-naturedly, and he chuckled that low, velvety laugh that relieved my anxiety. I think it goes, Aries, #1 mascot puppet guy, what am I saying? Well, #1 mascot guy of the game. But then it goes Kame. Aries Kame. Maybe Velpa. Then Sayer. Then, Zafan. Thankful that the taut tension had seemed to ease up, we returned inside to spend a little longer together. The others eventually returned to check that all was well between us, and the night returned to our usual rambunctious antics.
So, you've been seeing men behind my back.
Can we get a Sprite? She has a voice. She deserves a Sprite. Please, I want to see her. It was the next day at work. I had returned from delivering a kind elderly man to the gates of heaven, where Lilia had seized my wrist in the hallways and dragged me straight here. I
was wondering why you were too busy for me. Now I know.
You're always too busy for me, off getting boba. Boba's your secret man. She was pacing back and forth, her arms crossed behind her back.
I thought it would be bros over hoes.
And I thought it would be hose over boba.
Although I guess they're two bros. Does that make me the hoe?
She gestured at herself, her eyebrows scrunched tightly.
Is that all I am to you? A hoe?
Okay, you can go away now. She stopped to put her hands on her hips and looked at me accusingly. No. I held her shoulders and shook her. Who told you this already? I knew the answer before she replied. Zafan. A gossip. You are a very lovely friend to me, Lilia. I just promised them not to tell.
But I want to know things too.
She leaned up on her toes and peered closely into my eyes. So closely that I was afraid that any movement could end up with Lilia poked in the eye.
Did you date them?
Her pout transformed dangerously quickly into a suggestive grin. What?
Jeez, why are you yelling? Feels a bit defensive, I think.
Why would I date them?
They're handsome boys, aren't they? Sure, they have some flaws, but...
Like murderers, you know, liars. Lilia, they're fugitives. The door had swung open and our favourite redhead poked his head
And
inside.
what's a bit of forbidden love?
Forbidden love? Whose love is forbidden? Why, Valkii and her criminals, of course. Lilia. The fan. She whispered something in his ear, and while he raised a doubtful brow, he eased up his reproach.
So that's your type, huh?
Yep, she's into bad boys.
I can be a bad boy too. He flexed, not unlike how a bird struts its feathers, and the two of us giggled at his antics. Well, if I'm ever actually into bad boys, I shall add you to the list for consideration. That's all I ask. But I much prefer good boys. I reached up to ruffle his hair. If he had a tail, it would be wagging furiously. He sometimes was like a golden retriever. Reliable, cute, big. Well, since the fans ruined our little chat, guess I'll go watch this stream. Stream? Yeah, from my favorite idol, Stella Hugh. I see. I had a lot to learn, but one thing I did know is that sometimes it was better to nod along. See ya, Valkii. If you have any secret dates, let me know. Please do not encourage her to commit crimes. Go, watch a stream. You're a terrible influence. I opened the door and nudged her through, but she was already too engrossed in her device to argue. So, what are your plans for lunch? It's the fans' turn to get a little love now. But I still haven't made any decisions, really. I made those Sayir decisions right at the beginning, but I haven't made any decisions other than that. I thought I was going to the human world with Lilia, but I guess she's busy. How about you spend time with me, my treat? I'd be delighted. He playfully put my hand on his arm and marched me down the hallway. I think I spotted Lilia curled up somewhere with headphones in her ears, a fascinating invention, and a coffee in hand. We came across Sayir and Valkii, and the latter took in the sight of both of us. His gaze lingered a little longer than usual. Did I see relief in his eyes? Ah, you're with Valkii today. Going somewhere fun? Good job, Zafan. Valkii and Zafan's faces fell. You're trying to keep me occupied, aren't you? I muttered angrily to avoid too many raised eyebrows and removed my hand from Zafan. You can't trust me to be on my own, right? I thought we were back to normal. At least the three of them had the decency to show their chagrin in their matching grimaces. Valkii, listen. Ugh, this isn't the place for it. I really do want to have lunch with you, and dinner, and breakfast. We just want to ensure that you are safe. I said I wouldn't keep secrets from you. I wish you would believe me. I came close to stomping my foot, but that would be childish and go against my point. This is for your sake, with everything that has happened. What if you're a target now? I don't want you out of our sight. You're not just doing this to keep me out of trouble. You act like we've never hung out for fun before. I pouted at him. This is different. He opened his mouth and then closed it. No rebuttal, huh? Tell you what. You hang out with us now, and I'll give you a treat sometime later. Now you're moving on to bribery.
Bribery is acceptable in small portions.
My Valafar. What a scandalous thing to say.
My Valafar. I kind of loved that, I'm not gonna lie. But alright, I'll show you that I can behave if we can get dessert. And that you'll let me be after some time has passed. I doubt I'd really be of much interest to Malthus after this, or to Nox. Done. Thank you for treating us, Saf. Hey. After work, it had been Kame and Valkii's turn to babysit me. I still felt like a child that had been grounded. But I did deserve it, I suppose. I guess we didn't get a little moment with Zafan. Okay. How about I teach you how to mix some drinks? Was he being nice to me again? Was this the carrot and stick method? That sounds fun. Do you think I can handle it? With some practice, I believe you'd certainly outdo me. He tilted his head to me, his eyes holding playful mirth. He put out some empty glasses and beckoned me over. He was very eager to instruct me. Too eager, in fact. Wait a moment. This is just another scheme to pass your work to me. I'm onto you, Kame. You two jest now, but be warned, Valkii. Before you know it, you'll be the one behind the counter while he's stolen away in a corner. And am I not deserving of a break? I ask myself that every day. There. Here, Valkii. Have a drink to make you feel better. Sorry if it tastes bad. I'm sure it tastes. He spluttered. I'm so sorry. Oh no, Kame. I think I've poisoned him. He'll live. Perhaps this will cease his nagging. I am fine. He was quite kind to insist when his eyes were watery. My, this is quite strong. Perhaps you could bring me another glass and some seltzer? I kept busy with my hands, but my mind began to wander. I had learned quite a bit about Kame, but I still had to learn a lot more about myself. Oddly, I didn't have the chance to think much about what had happened earlier. Was it because I was busy? I was normally the type of person to stress a point until I figured it out. As the others were making their arrival, this could be a good time to bring it up once more. There are some things that I didn't ask before. Yes? I waited for the others to settle in and gather their drinks before I spoke. I let Kame make Aries' drink, as I wasn't in the mood to hear him complaining about me messing up, and took my seat in between Zafan and Sayer on the sofa, as usual. Alright, what's the best way to ask this? What exactly happened after my death? Everyone stared at me. Well, that is certainly one way to start a conversation. I figured a direct approach was best. Aries scrutinized me from his armchair, his fingers idly stirring the ice in his drink with a straw. You really want to know? I should know. Whether I want to or not isn't really an option. You've been here for a while. Has it been bothering you? Your past must have been afflicting you as well. I'm afraid we have been neglecting your fears. Thea gently cupped my cheeks and I smiled back at him as I put my fingers against his. The past wasn't affecting me as much as it should have been, which perhaps had indeed become a source of fear for myself. You've all done nothing but take care of me, maybe a little too much. I aimed a pointed look at Kame, who had the audacity to grin back with a pleasant and unaffected air. Truly, do you think we don't simply enjoy spending our time with you? Despite all the trouble you cause. A lot of trouble. You've livened up our lives. Sure, lay on the flattery. Despite myself, I smiled. I'm surprised you've waited until now to ask. Truly, I haven't thought of it often, not since the last time I spoke about it all with you. In fact, my memories as a whole feel blurry when I try to think more. I haven't had dreams at all since I've been here. I still cannot remember my time in purgatory. I remember stepping forward to my execution. I set my glass on the coffee table and held my head in my hands. I remember how much I loved my family and Felix. I remember how much the nobility destroyed us, and I remember destroying them. I remember that I did all these things, but that's all. I can't see any of it. What do you mean that you cannot see? I know everything that happened, but no matter how hard I try, the pictures have been erased from my memory. I thought I remembered my life clearly because I knew what happened, but I only remember on a surface level. I can't remember what Felix looks like at all. Isn't that a good thing? No, I still... Considering all that had happened, I was ashamed to say it aloud. Even if I couldn't remember what he looked like or how the warmth of his hand felt in mine, what lingered in my heart was enough to sway me.
Now?
Even now. Unbelievable. I might be a Reaper in name, but I still might be a human deep down after all.
We all have our weaknesses.
Is her love a weakness? I, for one, admire it. Oh, to be so ardently loved. He looked at me wistfully. We are getting off track here. Right, I suppose it's part of human nature to want to know. Maybe I can remember what happened if you tell me. Is it okay to force your memories back? Not knowing will only make me suffer more. As you wish, Valkii.
Then let us go back to the beginning. Or, perhaps more appropriately, the end?
The beginning of the end? You two are terrible people. You see, Valkii, Kame is revealing his true colors. I suppose jokes about my death are one way to keep you going. You died. Shocking. Afterwards, your beloved friend lost whatever sense of reason he had to hold him back. His conscience was no more. Perhaps he had lost his reason to live? Oh. It is not your duty to rein in a man from, well, a reign of terror. The problem here is what was set in motion before your demise. When he came upon your body, he lost his mind. His wails were unearthly. I did not know that you knew this tale, Valkii. I've heard of it. Aries cocked his head at Kame, who only smiled. He clutched both your body and your ahem. I held the sides of my head in understanding. Like Felix. That must have been a gruesome sight for him to behold. And it had changed him. He was already intent on destroying all the nobility in the nation. The two of you had already begun doing so. Yes, I was in charge of reconnaissance. Maps, guard rotations, schedules, supply routes. I knew where to aim the dagger, and Felix was the one who threw it. We may as well have both been holding the hilt. He began to wage war. He promised neighboring countries that they would receive the lands of the nobility if they offered their arms. The march he led lay blaze to many, many estates of the wealthiest. He allowed the common folk to flee, but there wasn't enough resources for all, of course. And even if there was, to uproot one's life and begin again somewhere else, it was chaotic. Cities were flowing with refugees. He looked away, but I didn't miss the disgust in his face. People scraped by to feed their families. He was blinded by hatred. Promises of land were lies. Why destroy the current nobility if he were to invite people to take over? And that is where Sayer and I came in. We work as fixers. With Felix bringing mayhem to the world, we were forced to take matters in our own hands. We are not to interfere in human matters until matters become dire. Sayer is usually the strategist and I execute the plans. I felt bad for thinking so, but I didn't expect that Sayer would be a strategist. It appeared that Valkii read my mind because I caught him smirking. Sayer is quite intelligent when he chooses to be. When I choose to be? Says the man that has never bested me in chess. And he is able to see more than the rest of us. Just as Kame can see through individuals, Sayer can see things and people as a whole. Is it because he's an angel? We have wondered if that is the case, but it appears to be a natural talent within him, just like with Kame. Kame. Ugh, I hate everything. I wish I had a talent. Your talent is probably sucking malevolence into you. That is probably your talent. But, like, they're just all, like, being little babies about it. I don't know. Maybe they should try to do it to see if they can do it, and if they can't do it, then it's your talent. So, what did your roles require? I became a general. You fought in the war. Must have been quick. I'm pleased to hear you think I'm that strong, but it was way harder than that. A lot of work, Valkii.
You think I can just create a blast with my scythe in the battlefield, and that would have fixed everything?
Well, why not? They'd probably revere you as a god. You'd get statues made of yourself and everything. Zapan froze and stared at me. Then he started to stroke his chin, his eyes lost in thought. Didn't think of it that way. Damn, I wonder if I can go back and... Zapan, do not even think about it. Just a joke. But, Valkii, it was a long battle. Your boyfriend wasn't easy to fight. I didn't bother to protest that he was not my boyfriend. Basically was. I did not wish to aid the nobles either, so it was particularly difficult. But more importantly, I did not wish to let you die in vain. It was difficult to come up with a plan to minimize damage while allowing those that were evil to languish. Not that there were many left. I suppose not. Felix did an excellent job of eradicating most of the upper class. Yet he put himself on the throne. A suitable means to an end for him, despite the irony. Is that why you wear an eye patch, Zapan? Did you hurt yourself in the war? Zapan smiled at me sadly, and the others all fell silent.
I didn't hurt myself in the war. Hey, don't worry. No human could hurt me.
I sought to replenish where there was destruction. I rerouted the supply routes that you had obstructed. Sorry. But why didn't you two go back in time and stop it from happening? Just kill both Felix and myself. It is forbidden. We can only correct the current course. We cannot go back in time and change something. We go back in time for our reapings. I was confused. What made this different? Because we are collecting souls after they are already dead, we can only end a life ourselves if the harm has gone too far. Oh. But then another contradiction occurred to me. But you two went back in time to stop Felix. Zapan and Sayer cocked their heads in confusion. Valkii wore a knowing smile, and Kame cleared his throat before chuckling softly. I think you are under the misapprehension that we traveled backwards to do this. Yes, they did that when it was actually happening real time. Misapprehension? We did this as it was happening in history, Valkii. What? How old are all of you?
She stares at us as though we will crumble into dust at any moment.
We're the same age, you know. But I've been asleep. And wandering. You did spend a good amount of time roaming. Well, you two fought an entire war, it seems. Would you like to hear the ending? I take it it's not a happy one. Well, the world eventually returned to peace. Although Felix lost his way, Sayer and Zapan were able to help establish a democracy in the country. Of course, there were still rocky relations in terms of diplomacy with the neighboring countries and within Berengar itself. And Felix, what happened to him?
He died alone and driven by madness, as he deserved. He let you die, which is unforgivable. As was the war he waged.
He didn't let me die. I waited until he was gone. If he truly cared for you, he wouldn't have let you leave his sight. And yet he had the audacity to besmirch your work by... Enough. I didn't realize I was shaking until I felt Sayir's arm wrap around me. Despite all that passed, know that the world was able to heal, and not beyond repair. It is how you sit with us today.
You're welcome.
And I would do it again.
Thank you, you two. I kissed Safan on the cheek and turned to give Sayir a peck on his as well.
I believe I was helpful behind the scenes.
As he stepped forward, Velfar pulled him back by the collar.
What a sly fox you are, Kame.
And as we laughed, the night took a lighter turn. Drinks flowed freely until it was time to retire. Or so I thought, and we'll see what happens in the next one.